have a slightly different opinion than my colleague Rachel, and that is, to be a business owner means that you're willing to get outside your comfort zone. Sometimes it's not all about going where you feel most comfortable, but going where the need is. And right now, the need is in the neighborhood. Often, when I was in school in college, I had a buddy who was from the Chicago area. I was from the Detroit area. Of course, we used to always battle which area was better. But we both concluded that the money, or the new money that's going to be built in the 21st century, is going to be rebuilt in urban America. I think that is a strategy that people should really take heed to. And having said that, we have a city that has to be totally rebuilt. Every thoroughfare has an opportunity. So I think as part of a business owner and doing your due diligence, you have to get in your car and you have to drive the city religiously. You got to drive it on different days, on the weekends and on the weekdays, and get a feel for what's going on in the streets. I oftentimes tell this story when I'm on these panels, is that if anybody's ever been to California, if you ever been to Melrose, which is one of my favorite streets in LA, and you can drive Melrose for 10 miles in either direction on both sides of the street, there's commerce on the ground. From pop-up shops to retail stores to sit-down restaurants to Gap, you name it. So one day I was on Melrose going to see some vendors and people I do business with, and I turned off on the side street. And upon me turning off on this side street, I seen a real estate sign. And I said, let me call on this real estate sign and see how much this property is. And I'm talking about maybe a 3-bedroom home, maybe 1,400 square feet bungalow, 2 bedrooms down, 1 big bedroom upstairs. And I called on the property, and the property was $900,000. The reason why that 1,200 to 1,400 square foot was $900,000 because they have commerce on the ground, which means when they drive out the end of their driveway, they got everything they need to sustain and maintain their lifestyle. That's when you have commercial strips that actually drive value to the neighborhoods. So we as business operators, oftentimes tell people say, well, why the mayor won't do this or why the mayor won't do that. You got to understand 2 things. One is that as business operators, people who operate business, and business developers, people who develop businesses, you have a lot of power. The city do not know how to help you. You have to tell the city what kind of help you need. They're not going to think about it and say, oh, John needs this, let me go over in this neighborhood and supply that. That's not how the game works. So we have a unique opportunity, probably more so than any big city, I know in the United States, maybe even in the world, where we have the opportunity to redevelop this particular city from the ground up. And one thing about the Detroit market is nobody tells you that you can't do something. You can do whatever you want to, where that may not be the case in some other large urban areas. Things have already spoken for. So we have the ability to drive value. So if you're going to be a business owner, I want you to be smart. The first thing you should do is collect among yourselves or ourselves. Then that way, if you're going to expand, you expand into a district that has the need. So if I'm taking 6 or 7 retailers with me, and there's 7 storefronts on a particular store, and we expand in all at once, now we not only create value, but we also create a destination. So this is the way that you have to think. You have to think in a collective business model in the 21st century. If you think you're going to sit out your shingle by yourself and do business, you're sadly mistaken. Collect among yourselves, get with like-minded people, and then go into places together. Why do Greektown work? Because it's an aggregation of concentration of retail. Why do Southwest work? Why do any other business district work? So expand into neighborhoods. And what you see, when I go down and I see a blighted area, I see development. I see the glass half full. The people that see it half empty, give them a lot of space. You don't need to hang with them because they're not going to get it. So I would just like to say is that the commercial thoroughfares needs to be solely redeveloped, and it can be done. It can be done.
Thank you. When you faced your biggest challenge to your business, what was it, and how did you overcome it? Who wants to start? Go for it, Sylvia.
I believe I've already expressed that several times because I opened in the recession. So that was the biggest thing. and the fact that it took a lot of energy to deal with it, because you start off one way and then you have to change your structure so it can work within what's going on until things starts to move differently, which it is now. So I'm branding myself and getting my group of people that work well with me in the business that I'm doing. I'm gathering that information and gathering those talents so that we can move forward. But it was a struggle. The first year, when I said we had to go out, we had to do different things, it was a struggle. I am now, it's a lot of things I don't do anymore. Those little nuances that you have to struggle with. But you learn the process. I had to learn the hard way in that situation because it was not a foreseen situation. You went into a business when the economy was okay. And then when you get into it, then the economy switched up and people start to think differently. But now I see the growth coming. I'm growing. I'm redeveloping my focus. And so, but those things do happen, and you just have to stay strong with what you believe, you know for sure.
Go for it.
Real quick, that's a very good question, and I don't think that's a singular event. I think naturally business people are overcomers, so it's going to always be challenges with problem solvers. But I started my business when the economy was actually booming, and I haven't seen in my lifetime the kind of economy we have right now. I've never seen this economy before. And, you know, they say success is a poor teacher. You know, one of my doors went from doing 100 and 120 to 150 a month, every month for 5 years, to falling off the cliff of doing 70% less. So that means you're doing $1, now you're doing 30 cents. So most people, many of my friends around the country went out of business. When Bill Clinton was the mayor, a lot of my friends enjoyed a lifestyle that most people don't even think about or have never imagined. And many of them are now gone. And we have this conversation to this day. we had a conversation this day. Some of us didn't know for 2 or 3 years that we didn't have any money because our lifestyle was on autopilot. And then till one day we had to wake up and say, we don't have any money. Not only don't we don't have any money, we don't have any customers because the customers don't have any money. And so one of the things that I have to do is now I'm trying to regrow the brands and regrow the things I'm involved with. And out of all this, one of the things that we have to do as business people, and as I'm telling you, I'm also telling myself, and that is we have to go somewhere quietly and we have to think. It's all about what it is that you have to learn from what has gone on now. And I tell myself, if I ever get that $1 back, I'm never going to lose it again. Because we have to prepare ourselves for the upticks and the downtick. And we're probably like in a 6 or 7 year downtick. So it's about going somewhere quiet and think. And I'll close by saying this. Everybody knows who Napoleon Hill is. Napoleon Hill is still one of my greatest influencers from a business standpoint. And when he first was commissioned to write Think and Grow Rich, he went to a professor and asked a professor, he said, what is man's greatest challenge? And you let me know if this answer is the same in your life as well. So the professor thought about the question and then replied by saying, man's inability to think. And that is absolutely correct. So when you're going through a big problem or problems, first of all, make that problem smaller by taking bites out of that problem. And then go somewhere quietly and think. And then the answers will begin to reveal itself. Oftentimes, many of us are so busy being busy that we really can't even attack the problems and the challenges that we have in our life. And sometimes I have to stop and remind myself, hey man, go somewhere and think. You can think your way through this. That's why the book says think and grow rich. It doesn't say work hard and grow rich. It says think and grow rich, which is the greatest business book ever written. So I'm saying, When you have those challenges, think and grow rich, and then begin to ask people who you respect. And you can't ask mediocre people about great things. Not that you casting judgment on anybody. And your friends and your close friends and your family, they mean well. But oftentimes they don't have the answer. You got to develop that mastermind group. And that mastermind group is always some kind of business association that you can get involved. When we meet, the organization that I'm the president of is called the Independent Business Association. When we meet on Wednesdays, we probably have 150 years worth of business experience at that table. So we throw our problems on the table. And how much would that cost you if you had to have somebody in the marketplace to solve some of those problems? So it's your ability to think, and of course, your association. That's going to be CDs, DVDs, and people. Oh, and books, I'm sorry.
Rachel, SB, Jennifer, do you want to add?
What's the question again?
How did you overcome your biggest challenge?
I mean, just like Lucas said, there's been so many challenges. The one, I mean, I was trying to sit here since I said, there's just so many. I don't even know what, I mean, I could say moving from a small business, like a small brick and mortar, to a full bakery cafe. And coming in and have to create the space and having to get out the mindset of small business and having to think larger and have bigger bills and having to offer more things and having this space and having to offer events. I would also probably say just taking, like you said, taking the time. You know, my mom works day and night, and it's really hard to take a minute for your business to actually regroup when you work so much. When you work all the time, so you have to take that time to really regroup and rethink so that you can create new ideas and develop new things. When the economy made that turn, I mean, just like the Black Dress said, we moved 3 years ago, so it was right about the time when things were getting real tricky. So we had to, I don't even know, it's just, I mean, it's still a struggle now. It's still a struggle right now to build the business that we're doing, trying to do so many different things with advertising and marketing and loyalty cards like you were talking about, doing so many different things to generate that business so that we can stay afloat. So everything is, I can't even really pinpoint one thing. It's when you get over one thing, there's always something else like, hello, forgot about me, I'm here. So it's one thing, if it's not one thing, it's another.
Sure, take us on.
I would agree. I feel like it's a constant, I don't want to say barrage.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of enjoyment that I have with my job, and I love working for myself. I love the lifestyle that it gives me, but I feel like there's always, not just there's always something, there's always stuff, there's always things, and how do you get through them? You just do it. I mean, you don't even give it a second thought. You just figure out how to overcome it, and you just do it. If I had to pick one obstacle, it's realizing that I don't know what the hell I'm doing. This is really, I'm actually really humbled to be on the panel with these folks because they've been doing what they've been doing a lot longer than what I have. And I've been doing this less than a year. So, the biggest obstacle is realizing that I really don't know what I'm doing, and you overcome that by surrounding yourself with people who are smarter than you, and you listen to them. You put your ego aside and you realize that you don't know everything. You're not an expert in everything. So what you're not smart enough to know or what you think you can grow on, find your elders, listen to them, and that's about it.
Well, thank you. That's great. We're after 4, so I'm going to say thank you to the panel. I always learn a lot, as I always do. Thank you all for coming, and I'm going to hand it over to Michelle.
Just stay for 1 second. You all want to take a picture afterwards, so I'm just going to keep it posted there as we wrap up. And you can stay too.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, give it up for our panelists one more time. There's a lot of wonderful information. We have just a couple things to do before we wrap up. We know we're after 4. I'm going to ask Robin and Veronica to come on up. One of the attendees gave some very helpful information that Vanguard CDC is planning pop-ups for the holiday season in the Woodward West Grand Boulevard area. The contact for that is Regina Ann Campbell. Regina Ann Campbell can be reached at 313-556-2020.